friends, welcome. My name is Dr. Heather Carden and welcome to Ask Dr. Heather. If you're brand new, Ask Dr. Heather here on our Facebook page is a place where I actually help answer questions that you may have about common health concerns. Maybe there's things you've been wondering about your own health. I want to help you be a better detective and help you better understand what things are going on with your body, maybe a friend, a family member, maybe a spouse, a loved one, things you've been going, I wonder if that's true. I wonder if this is a fad. I wonder if it's here to stay. Maybe it's something I should be actually doing. Maybe it's time for me to go to my own healthcare professional. So this is a time where I actually pick topics that people write into me about. Like last night we talked about whole plant food diet because that's a really common theme going around. Tonight we're going to talk about thyroid. Get lots of questions about thyroid. Thyroid is a very, very common problem that many people are not getting diagnosed with. It's getting dismissed, and for many reasons it's getting dismissed. Number one is that doctors are not properly testing, and the numbers or the umbrella where the clinical range or reference ranges are just far too big, and it's not getting tested thoroughly. So we're going to talk, so get your pen and paper ready. The great thing is on these lives, you can always go back, you can always share this, you can save this video for later. I am working pretty fast trying to get these uploaded to my YouTube channel over the next 30 days. You can actually go back and have them in subtitles, so if I don't talk slow enough, you can actually read them. So tonight we're going to talk about thyroid. Is fasting good for your thyroid? Is it not good for your overall thyroid health? What could potentially be causing or setting up your thyroid health? Or maybe do you have a thyroid condition? Is it something you should be actually talking to your healthcare provider about? Maybe you don't have one, maybe you do. So we're going to just walk through the steps through that. What potentially could be the etiology if you do have some thyroid issues. Is it time to talk to your doctor? Maybe that's not it at all. You've been going down the wrong rabbit hole. So let's just talk about that. But hey, Debbie, hey, Nicole, good to have you on here. Robert, Roberta, nice to see you here. Aliman, nice to see you. Hola. I'm coming to you live from Kansas City. I am a healthcare practitioner, a functional medicine doctor, practiced for 25 years. I can't believe that, 25 years. So I'm generally take questions at the end. It took me years to find a doctor who finally diagnosed my Hashimoto's. So glad you're getting some help with that. The great news is you can actually treat thyroid conditions naturally. The bad news is they generally pay for prescriptions. They don't pay for natural therapies, and natural therapies are actually the way to help heal a thyroid issue. But let's just start with what a thyroid gland is. Let's just get down to the basic anatomy. Where is it? What is it? And what does it do? Your thyroid gland is a little butterfly gland that sits right here. You can generally, if you just touch lightly when you swallow, you can feel it move up and down. Oftentimes when people suspect if they have a thyroid issue, I'll just tell them, touch there lightly and feel yourself swallow when you have saliva or get a drink of water. I have patients all the time. I move it back and forth to see if it's enlarged. Then I have them get either a drink of water or a big pile of saliva. I have them extend their neck all the way back, and then I have them swallow. So you can try this when we're done. Get a big pile of saliva or water, extend your neck all the way back, and just feel it. You don't have to squeeze it, just feel it, or don't feel it at all, and swallow. It should be a little tight just because your neck's an extension, but if it feels really tight, then there's a potential that it could be enlarged. But the thing about thyroid, it's kind of like your tonsils. It will get enlarged. You can get goiters. They can go back down. It's a protective mechanism. But that's really where your thyroid is, and what does it do? It's super important in its job in your body. I like to compare it to kind of like a car. It actually is the ignition for your body. It's what starts getting your body going. It maintains your body's temperature. It maintains your body's metabolism. It actually keeps the energy going. It gets the energy from the food that we eat based on your overall sleep cycle, your stress cycle, the food that you get. That's how your body actually gets your energy, and that's how your thyroid operates. So if your sleep is off, if you're a nighttime worker, or you're not sleeping very well, new puppy, newborn baby, barking dog next door, anything like that be going on, chronic pain keeping you up, all that can actually cause disruption in your thyroid. Stress, cortisol level being off, which can either lead to your thyroid or your adrenal glands being off, which is your sister organ, which is actually the engine for your body. But it also can be off from other reasons. So as you're joining, Connie, let me know where you're joining from. Happy New Year's to you. Roberta, let me know where you're joining from. I think you're coming from California, it sounds like. But so that's where your thyroid gland is. Again, it helps regulate your body's metabolic temperature. So if you're a person that says, oh, my temperature is always around 96, not really a good thing. So you're one of those people who potentially could get colds and viruses more susceptible because you want your body temperature around that 98-degree mark. That's normal for a reason, because there's a specific set point where your body actually burns out bacteria, burns out viruses. Yes, burns is a word, because when we increase heat in our body and have a temperature like 100, 101, that can be a good thing, because that's how your body cooks out and kills off bacteria like strep and staph and viruses. Different type of viruses, yes, like COVID or Epstein-Barr, things like that. Your body needs to have a fever, because that can be a good thing, just not going along too long. So again, that's what our thyroid does. It does help control our basal metabolic rate. You know, if it goes too low, if we get a hypothyroid condition, then you can have increases. I'm going to list a whole bunch of different things. So let me go back to etiology, which means how could your thyroid get out of balance? And then we're going to talk about some signs and symptoms. So how could it get out of balance? What could cause my body to have a thyroid condition? Well, stress for number one, we just talked about that. The new puppy keeping somebody up, or new grandbaby keeping you up. Our thyroid's supposed to turn off at night, so we sleep, we restore, we regenerate, we rejuvenate. Our cortisol, our brain neurotransmitters, our fasting hormones, all those things regenerate overnight. Then our thyroid wakes us up in the morning, so we're nice and happy and keeps us going all day. Well, if things get disrupted all night and too many nights, then we don't actually get rested. Our thyroid can get overtaxed. If we have too much stress from the pandemic, or maybe you work an ER job, or maybe you work as a teacher, whatever, fight or flight mode, or too much fight or flight over 5 years or over 30 days or over 30 years, that fight or flight mode can wear your thyroid out. Different prescription drugs, things like birth control, things like hormone replacement, could go on about different drugs that actually can cause your thyroid to be out of balance, because one of the things that your thyroid depends on is a thyroid stimulating hormone. It's called which is actually released from your pituitary gland. Your pituitary gland, as I talk about it a lot, actually releases 7 different releasing hormones. But if you're taking something like birth control that says also secreted from your pituitary gland is your luteinizing hormone, your follicle stimulating hormone. Well, if you're taking an oral birth control, I know there's many different types of birth control. An oral birth control, I'm trying to find my chart as I'm fumbling. From there, from your pituitary, I know I never said this correctly, but from your anterior pituitary, if this shows up right, you're going to see you have your, make sure I'm reading this right, right here is your thyroid stimulating hormone that's released right to your thyroid and tells your body to make a T3 and T4 hormone. However, all this hypothalamus, if this gets out of balance, that can actually cause your body not to actually release your thyroid stimulating hormone, which tells your thyroid how much hormone to make. But also your pituitary. So if you are taking something like birth control, which also releases follicle stimulating hormone, follicle luteinizing hormone, but if you're taking oral birth control, it says, hey, don't release an egg, and this is for females, don't release an egg, don't do that, it's stopping this function. It potentially could cause a disruption in your thyroid stimulating hormone. Or too much alcohol cuts off your antidiuretic hormone, that can cause a disruption in your thyroid. So we could go on in different areas that actually can cause disruption in this thyroid releasing hormone, which ultimately tells your thyroid how much hormone to make, because T3 and T4 are the hormones actually made in your thyroid. And so different foods, heavy metals can actually cause a disruption in what can actually, Nicole, I'm gonna give you those ranges at the end here in just a minute, but T3 and T4, so we talk about T3 uptake, we talk about T4, maybe you've heard T7, T3, T3 bound, T3 free. So T4 total is a total amount of hormone produced by the thyroid gland itself. T3 uptake, or T3 free, is amount that's available for use, kind of like your savings account. And so your T3 and T4 actually converted via iodine. 1/3 of the population is deficient iodine. Iodine is super important because iodine converts T3 to T4 in the liver. So we're getting the signal from the brain to tell the thyroid gland itself to make T3 and T4, make the hormone to actually be, and that's actually done via iodine and actually done in the liver. People with gluten allergies who are eating too much gluten or maybe have an iodine deficiency, it's kind of hard to actually convert T3 to T4. I tell my patient it works like a PIN number to make that conversion. If you don't have the PIN number to convert the T3 to T4, again, that's your savings account. T3 is that unbound that's kind of floating out there to make the free T4, which is what's available for use in your body. It's not going to get switched. It's not going to happen. And then you're not going to have enough of the hormone. So then the pituitary gland says, oh, release more or make more, or the body's super stressed out and you have a lot of stress. The body says, oh, fight or flight. We've got to stop all this. We've got to do a conservation mode. Stop making the thyroid hormone. We've got to stop. We've got to lower the body temperature. We've got to lower the heart rate. We've got to conserve everything. We've got to hold on to the weight. We've got to slow down the metabolism. We've got to do all those things to help really conserve what's going on, especially in an overstressed, over-aroused nervous system. Everything slows down. Or again, you can be just deficient iodine, deficient in things like selenium and zinc and tyrosine, which are all important in actually manufacturing and making a thyroid gland itself, or making T4. Or what if you have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, or you have a liver dysfunction, or you're taking some medication that causes your liver not to function properly because T3 and T4 are converted in the liver. There's so many things that can cause malfunction to happen when your thyroid gets out of balance. So we talk about, how does your thyroid get out of balance? Too much stress, not enough sleep, maybe an unhealthy liver, a mineral deficiency such as iodine, tyrosine, or hidden food allergies like gluten or soy, dairy, which all compete with that. So this is probably an hour-long video we could talk about, but let's go again just to find what T3 and T4 are. Just because I know I did that super fast there, and I'm going to give some numbers because Nicole asked. So T4 total is the total amount of hormone that's produced, and optimal ranges should be 7.0 to 8.5, and that's converted from our T3 uptake. And T3 uptake is the unsaturated amount of thyroid hormone that's available for the binding site, just kind of floating around. It's unsaturated. I tell people it's kind of like your savings account. It's waiting to get bound. It's converted via iodine in the liver, so converted in the liver to make the T4. That should be anywhere from 26 to 30. And then free T4 is amount available for use, and that should be about 1.1 to 1.7. And I can retype these at the top. And yes, a good endocrinologist, Lori, should be checking all of those, because if you're just checking TSH, which should be 1.3 to 3.0. Now again, why are people not getting diagnosed? Because that window on most labs are 0.4 to 5.0. 0.4 to 5.0. That's a clinical range for TSH. You can be having symptoms, and symptoms can be, and I have a long list of symptoms. People can say, I'm having weight gain, I'm having cold hands, cold fingers, I'm having lost libido, I'm having, swelling in my hands and feet, or lymphatic, my feet are starting to swell for some reason, dry skin, dry hair, nails are bruised, and I should just start at the top. So dry hair, brittle hair, swelling in my eyes, maybe some visual changes at night. You can have difficulty swallowing, clearing your throat, tightness in your throat, maybe you feel like a little goiter or nodule or something there can be on your throat. You can have sensitivity in your breast, male or female, can also be that. Dryness around your nipple can all be hyper or hypothyroid. You can have a change in your resting heart rate, because thyroid regulates your resting heart rate. When it's hyper, you can just feel like you're having your heart racing all the time. It doesn't calm down after you exercise. Just simply walking up the steps can actually cause your heart rate to be out of balance, and that can actually happen from progesterone being out of balance, can cause your thyroid to be out of balance as well. So it can happen just during important times of the month for women, or if men start getting a high estradiol level, low testosterone, that can also cause your thyroid out of balance. So everything works together in perfect harmony. One little cycle gets out of balance can start to cause a whole big effect. So we also see lateral part of the eyebrows start to actually fall out or get very thinning with thyroid, whether it's hyper or hypo. Grooves in the nails, people start to see little white dashes, are generally zinc. So white dashes are zinc. The grooves that people feel, the non-smoothness, toenails too as well, I'm just trying to go down the head or toe, are going to be are going to be thyroid when it's just little grooves or dashes along the nail. Fatigue, the first sign is fatigue, is remember the thyroid starts the body. So if it's a hyper and your body's running all the time, you can't turn it off, and when you turn it off, you just stop and drop because you finally get turned off. That's a hyperthyroid. You're going to have sometimes diarrhea, loss of weight that you can't keep on. You're eating all the time. You're hungry all the time. Metabolism doesn't turn off. You can be sweating all the time. That's a hyper state. That's a low TSH. That's high T4, high T3. That's hyper state. Hypo state, still tired all the time. You can't get going. You can be gaining weight. Your triglycerides can be getting higher. Loss of libido in both, loss of hair in both, thinning in hair of both, change in nails in both. The reason you start to lose your hair and nails because at a fast rate, your body's saying, we're trying to save all our energy for the brain and the heart. Who cares about your hair and nails? So that can happen as well. And then you start to see difficulty in concentrating because again, your body's like, am I supposed to sleep? Am I supposed to be awake? What am I supposed to be doing? Like Roberta said, brain fog can absolutely be the worst when the thyroid is out of balance because you need the thyroid to help focus. Stiffness in your joints and hands because if your thyroid's a hyper state, it's running through magnesium and calcium very quickly because magnesium and calcium are your body's natural tranquilizers. They want to slow everything down. And so when your TSH is down, like the pedal stuck in your car, it's going. It's also driving your cortisol out of balance, but it's also using up your body's natural calcium, magnesium, because you're saying, hey, slow down, and it's not happening. Shortness of breath, eye swelling, periorbital edema. Maybe you've seen people get kind of their eyes actually protruding further than their bone structure. That's kind of common. Someone whose thyroid's gone maybe to the autoimmune condition where it's Graves' or Hashimoto's. Also anorexia, just loss of appetite. You just don't feel like eating anymore. And that could be hypo or hyper. So Roberta's so sweet. I do televisits all the time. Abdominal distension is very common in thyroid issues too. Anything in your body's, again, because metabolism is going very slow in a hypo state, you put something in, the body's not digesting the food, the enzymes are being secreted, you even see a rise in the cholesterol sometimes, the hydrochloric acid's not being secreted from the stomach at a very efficient rate. You're going to see bloating, distension, constipation because motility is slowing down. You'll see that in a hypo state. In a hyper state, you'll actually see diarrhea. You'll see other things like I just can't seem full. I feel like maybe I have a tapeworm, maybe I have a parasite, and you're just having diarrhea all the time. So hyper state, everything goes super fast. Hypo state, everything goes super slow. Also have mood, behavior changes, anxiety, depression. So it can go either way. You can get same symptoms with both hyper or hypo. So next question was, can I fast or should I be fasting? So number one is get good labs. Don't just depend on the TSH and make sure you're in the optimal range, which is 1.8 to 3.0 or 1.5 to 3.0. Once it gets below that 1.0 mark and you're down in the 0.8, again, labs can say anything above 0.5, you're going to start to have symptoms. You're going to want that to come into that closer range. So why would someone want to fast? Why would you want to go on a ketogenic diet? Because what we do know is when you're fasting, especially at a 24-hour mark, you decrease anxiety and depression and calm down the nervous system up to 40%. And so you've kind of got to stop the madness, right? You want to actually calm the nervous system down. You've got to reset the sleep cycle. You've got to reset the breaker, so to speak. Because remember, the thyroid turns on and turns off the body. So you want to turn that on and turn that off. And that's where when you start doing intermittent fasting and resetting those hunger hormones, make sure you're getting to bed on time consistently. Don't sleep in on the weekends. You can take a nap, but don't oversleep. Don't go till 10 o'clock on a weekend day, and then your normal day is a 6 a.m. wake up time. Set the wake up time every single day. Set your bedtime every single day. But then, yes, if you need to take a nap, take a nap. But the food's going to be important because we talked about what does the thyroid do? It takes the food that you eat, turns it into energy for your body to run on. So you want to make sure you're eating clean energy. That's going to help. Make sure you get your iodine level checked. So we do a 24-hour iodine challenge test, do a heavy metal test. I find a lot of heavy metal that can be out of balance. And Terry, we find people with normal TSHs, but their T3 T3, either T4, either TPO, which is your thyroid peroxidase antibody, which should not be higher than 1, can be also off. That's your anti-inflammatory autoimmune marker. That could be off, or your T7 or T3 could be off. So you could be getting enough signaling from your brain, but you can maybe not be making enough of the thyroid hormone itself, and that's what's making you not feel right. So there's a lot of different reasons, but the main question I was getting is like, well, I heard you shouldn't fast if you have thyroid issues. Just conversely, it's one of the great tools you can use to actually heal the thyroid. And if you're tired doing that, we find a lot of mineral deficiencies with thyroid, like we talked about: calcium, magnesium, a lot of the antioxidants, selenium, zinc, iodine. Again, work with your healthcare professionals. You want to make sure that you're listening to your body, you're feeding your body. Sleep is that secret weapon, that you're cutting out dairy and soy. Those things have been found to be very controversial and actually inhibit the production and conversion of T3 to T4. So you definitely want to cut those out. You can find that all over Dr. Google. And just if you're new to Ask Dr. Heather, Dr. Google is actually just what I refer to as the internet, because people go there. But just give yourself a 20-minute timer and then get back off of it. And then if everything seems to be normal, then we need to look somewhere else. So if you say, gosh, all those numbers are fine, but now it's this. So I love Rachel saying, I found that fasting and keto helped her grades. So helpful. So Rachel, thank you for piping in and sharing that. And so again, practicing for 25 years, using fasting, intermittent fasting, and you can't just jump into 24-hour fast. You can't just jump into doing a 36-hour fast. We talked about building a fasting muscle. Those are actually down below. I think I did that last week, talking about how you go into building into a fasting muscle on my YouTube channel, which it's free, has about 40 different videos on fasting and how you begin fasting. But clean diet, get your sleep in. We know all about positivity for your thyroid, since we know the stimulating hormone is there, and I will retype those levels up above as soon as we're off here. But know that you can use exogenous ketone. You want to use electrolytes to help balance out that. Think of it like a fuel injector in an old car, or maybe even a brand new car you want to keep running very efficiently. When you go to the gas station, you put a fuel injector to keep everything running clean. That's what electrolytes do. That's what pure exogenous ketones do. And you want to make sure you're using ones that are bioidentical. If you want more information on the products that I use for my patients and for myself, I'll be happy to share that. But that's a great tool to help keep the thyroid running more level. And then again, not eating those high processed carbohydrates, because every time you eat it, you're asking your thyroid, go digest food, whether it's a chip or a cracker or a cookie, because carbohydrates only last 30 minutes. Maybe it's fruit. Maybe you're having a half a fruit every 45 minutes because they told you to do that, for your blood sugar or something like that. I saw somebody else's diet where they're eating in a 6-hour window, but they're eating every 2 hours, which can actually cause a lot of stress on your thyroid. You want to eat a nice meal that is balanced and healthy fats, because then you can go 4 hours between meal to meal, so you balance it out. You're only asking your thyroid to digest food, again, idealistically on an 8-hour time frame, and that is what's ideal. I saw that question. Eating in an 8-hour window, that way your body can rest, digest, rejuvenate, really digest the enzymes, really give your thyroid a nice time to have a break over the next 16 hours and process the healthy food that you chose to eat. When you're snacking all the time throughout the day, and the average American eats 17 times a day. What defines eating is consuming calories, not from sugar, alcohol, calories, but simply just consuming calories. So if you're sitting at your desk and you have a piece of hard candy, or you have a sip of a soda, and a sip of soda is 10 calories, or a sip of sweet tea is another 10 calories, or you're having a bite of pretzels, you have another bite of a handful of cashews, then you have, you dip your carrots in some ranch dip. Every time you're doing that, you're having your thyroid work. So you want to have a meal and you want to rest. You want to have a meal, you want to have a rest, and then you want to fast overnight. So we go back to that 1970s style of eating, of having 2 to 3 squares a day in an 8-hour time frame, and then give the gift of rest to not only your thyroid. Remember, your thyroid, the signaling begins in your brain to your thyroid, which regulates your temperature, your heart rate, your digestion, the rate that you eliminate through your bowel, through your bladder, through your kidneys, your heart rate, your resting heart rate. All those things depend on your thyroid. And if you're putting sugar in your thyroid, processed food into your thyroid, if you're not giving it a break, there's no way for your body to reset and resend. So I'm going to buzz through and check out a couple questions here, and then I will go up as Nicole requested, and I'll put up those ideal levels. I'll just snap a sheet. I'll also just attach a sheet that we use in our office that talks a little bit about some of the signs and symptoms. I'll put those down below in the feed. That's the easiest way. But thank you guys for sharing your stories, and know that there is help, and know that goiters can go away. I also wanted to share that because it's not just if you get a goiter. I've seen people have grapefruit-sized goiter, lemon-sized goiter, and with stress, proper nutrition, they don't always have to be radiated. They don't always have to be removed. They can be healed. And oftentimes for women during cycling, the highest concentration of iodine is actually in the ovaries. And if you're like 1/3 of the world's population and you're deficient iodine, for women and also for men, your body will actually rob the iodine for women from their ovary. This is where cysts come from. This is where we have ovary, we have dysregulation, the hormones again start connecting. Your thyroid will rob the iodine from your ovary to actually convert your thyroid hormone, because that's more important than ovulation to the body, having that thyroid functioning each and every day. So thank you guys for joining. Thanks for your wonderful, wonderful thyroid questions. Yes, I do televisits, do telemedicine all over the world. I'd say I have patients all over the world now, which is super exciting. When I opened up a very small clinic, we had our one little shack on the door in Miami County in Paola, Kansas. But hopefully it brought some value, hopefully brought some clarity. Maybe you've been wondering if you have some thyroid issues, or wonder what that looks like, or even how do you go to your doctor and talk about it. I'll put some signs and symptoms again like we talked about, put some of the different labs that need to be checked, make sure they're being checked thoroughly. Maybe you're already under the watch of a healthcare provider, and maybe you're in that rut where every year they just check your TSH and they just actually, change your Synthroid or change your Armor. But know that there are different alternatives when it comes to that. Maybe they should be treating your T3 instead of your TSH. Maybe you can be doing some other type of antioxidants to actually help with that. Things like lithium and selenium can be very, very helpful in healing for your thyroid. So there's lots of different options when it comes to that. So Rachel, we actually just email me or email the office, and then that's how we actually set up our wellness clinics. We have paperwork and stuff that we send. So you can either go to www.cardinwellness.com, or you can go to Dr. Heather at cardinwellness.com, info@cardinwellness.com. I think it's right up above in our office. You can jump over to our office website, and then we can actually get your information on that. So that's the easiest way to do that. So thanks again for hitting that share button. Thanks for sending. Hope this again gave you some value. If you're participating in the Core 4, which is our 28-day healthy living challenge, which we're asking you to eat healthy 4 days a week for 4 weeks for the next 28 days, put Core 4 down below. And then we just got an announcement that Keto Academy, which is the educational seminar that I love. I go to lots and lots of educational seminars, actually that Pruvit puts on twice a year, which is top leading research speakers. They are not employed by Pruvit in any way. They just gather leading experts who are doing some of the top research out there in the field on ketones, ketosis, all things ketogenic. They get speakers who are, again, leading TED Talks, leading conversations in that, in all different fields, from health and wellness to cognition to athletic performance. They're actually offering the first day free, which is next Wednesday. So I'll be posting that as well, the link to actually get a free ticket for the first day. It's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, which is awesome to have it free. I have flown many times a year, and I think the tickets are generally about $495 for the 2.5-day event. But the first day they're offering free, which I think is awesome. So anyway, you guys have a great evening, and I'll be catching up with you tomorrow. Don't forget, tomorrow is our live Q&A, so bring your questions, keep them simple, and generally don't try to do very many prove-it questions. I am an education promoter for them, but this is all about your time to ask those questions that you want to know more about your own health, or things you've been going, I wonder if that's really true. So have a great evening, guys, and I'll be seeing you soon. Again, this is Dr. Heather, over and out. Bye-bye.